Right, it's 9 o'clock, exactly, on the nose. Time for our weekly meeting of the Logansport Board of Works and Safety. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the delay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Chris Armstrong.
Here.
Ron Miller.
Present.
Approval of minutes from the June 4th, 2014 meeting.
I've reviewed the minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve as presented the minutes of the June 4, 2014 meeting.
Who second that motion? Is there any discussion? None. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. Approval of claims in the amount of $104,302.21.
I reviewed the claims. I will make a motion we approve as presented the claims in the amount of $104,302.21.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes on a vote of 3-0. Let me catch up on my paperwork here. Approval of licenses.
We have three. I'd make a motion we approve them as presented. Mr. Hummel, Cook, and Fenwick.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion with regard to approval of the 3 electrical licenses?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. Are there any changes to the agenda? No. Visitor comments? No visitor comments. There's no old business for consideration. Under new business, the Race for Grace, Calvary Presbyterian Church, requesting a street closure for July 12th between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. The time of the event is approximately 8 to 9:30. We have Assistant Chief for the Police Department here if there's any questions, and also Dan Williams with Street Department. Everything appears to be in order. Is there any questions regarding the Race for Grace? I'd make a motion that we approve the street closing for July 12th between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 a.m.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Passes on a vote of 3-0. Logansport Police Department has a request for the Bicycle Safety Rodeo to be held on June 14th. Assistant Chief is here. If there's any questions, this is an annual thing. They do a great job. Lots of kids turn out for that. We give away some bicycles, some other good prizes. Are you coordinating with the fire department this year for the smokehouse?
I believe Mike Deere and Dave Ferris are doing that.
Okay. I'd make the motion that we approve the request by Logansport Police Department to conduct the bicycle rodeo to be held on June 14th.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Passes on a vote of 3-0. Under reports, second week, this will be Superintendent of Public Works. Dan, you're up first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I respectfully submit my report, my monthly report for June 2014.
Do you have it, Dan?
Please,
Your report?
do I have it?
Yeah, I didn't.
Here.
I didn't get it.
There's plenty back here. Let me give you this one.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan.
No, that's okay. I just wasn't in my packet. Great. It's all taken care of.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And the question I have is, we had a bumper crop of maple seeds, whirligig, what do you call them? Any major problems with any of the storm drainage
Just a couple, and those are problem areas that we go out and when we know it's going to rain, we try to hit that area before it actually comes down.
What's a gutter broom?
Gutter broom,
Uh-huh.
so that's on the street sweeper.
You're building a
That's
gutter
the
broom.
Well, they wear down after you use them. Ours has been nonstop. It's a plastic broom that sweeps the street,
Oh, okay.
and after a while they wear down, and
Okay.
we redo those ourselves.
I didn't know you redid those.
Yes, sir.
Cemetery looks nice, always
Thank you.
does. Any
I'll pass
questions?
that on to the staff. They
Any
work hard.
questions for Superintendent of Public Works? I make the motion, we approve the Superintendent of Public Works report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0.
Thank you.
We'll do Parks Administrator next, and then we'll have you, George, if you don't mind. I'm sorry?
Do you have hers?
You just didn't email, I'm sorry. Didn't come to you. Hi,
Good
Jan.
morning.
Good morning.
I submitted a report yesterday. Did everybody get it?
These two did not, and I
I
apologize.
emailed it to them, but
Yeah, I
You
saw
got
it.
it? You got it? You didn't?
I have an email, but I
Here,
thought it was
take
in our
mine.
packets.
Okay. There. We'll get it back. Thank you.
it was late last night.
Yeah, it was late. It was, what, 6 o'clock or so?
Yeah.
How are the season sales going at Dykeman?
I don't even have that information with me. They're actually okay. People are buying more of the full season passes than they are of the half season passes, which is good. That sets them up for being there all season long.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, May was still not the greatest weather month, and so it was down a little bit from where we were last year at this time. So.
Sure. I noticed regarding Tower Park, you list one of the accomplishments as contractor work completed. Do you know what that was?
Yeah, they annually help us open it up, putting in all the automated stuff with the strand, they call it strand trawler, but it's actually keeping the chlorine up to
Okay.
snuff, and the acid and things like that. It's the automated stuff that they take care of getting that all set up first thing. And then they come at the end of the season and they winterize it, remove some of the things that you don't want sitting in there
Mhm.
for the winter.
Right.
There's probes and weird things that.
Has there been any more developments or research regarding closing the pool or how we would go about replacing it? I mean, we talked about a spray park or some
The
other
park
kind
board
of...
has started that conversation publicly last month, and we'll continue it at tonight's board meeting. The first thing that needs to be done, though, is if we're going to close the pool, we need to close it and demolish it, and then move on from that discussion, from there to decide how to proceed from there. So and that's pretty much what their tactic is.
I don't want to speak for city council here, but I have also received some feedback from that, and I think the city council wants to know what the plan is and how much it's going to cost to provide some kind of water feature, some kind of water facility before we actually sign off on closing the pool. So it's a chicken and egg thing, and I think we're trying to gather as much information as possible before a final decision is made.
And we're trying to, you can build as big or as little a feature as you want, and I guess that's what it's really going to come down to is how much money do we want to spend,
Right.
and if what's worth doing, and I guess that's where we're going to have once we get to this point or the second reading and we're moving on to talk with the city council, then it's really up to them to say this is how much we feel like we want to spend on on this.
Yeah,
Or not.
And
you
the
know.
thing I'm trying to caution against is, once you demolish the pool, you can't put it back together. So
No.
we need to know what we're going to do moving forward before we move ahead with demolition of what's already there.
Mhm.
So that's my words of caution as we deal with
Well,
this
we have-
subject
we
that's
do have
been
some
on the
ideas.
books for the last 15 years, I
Yeah.
know, or 20 years probably, that we've been wrestling with this. But I think we just need to know what the plan is before we make the final determination on the fate of the existing pool. So,
Well, they have to be a part of making that plan.
sure.
And I guess that's what, we can't do it because it's money that we don't control any money.
Sure, and
from the
I understand
pool.
what you're saying when
So
you
we
say that,
can't-
and which is
Yeah.
maybe the chicken and egg theory that I'm back to. We've announced the closing of the pool without announcing the direction that we're going to take after we close it. So was that announcement premature? Maybe a little bit, but I think we need to know definitely what's going to take
Well,
place
we do
before.
have options on the table, and those options are, certainly, best case scenario, and then to the worst case scenario of not putting anything in.
Right.
So
They're $0 to $5 million is the
Yeah.
options that I've seen, and
Right.
I just think we need to identify the target, what it is that we're going to do
Yeah,
before we do
What
that.
I think we ought to do, and
Microphone.
this is the plan that we want to pursue.
Right.
I just don't, like I say,
Well, what
you
we
can't.
want
Yeah.
and what's going to be funded are probably two different things.
Well, exactly, and you could say that with every department in the city. I
Yeah.
mean, the police
Yeah.
department would like to have a standalone police department. It's in all likelihood not going to happen. So, I mean,
But what you could do is, this is the basic plan, and then have some add-ons, and what the proposed cost, additional add-ons, and then the city council can look at that and see how much money they got and how much they can fund.
I just want to be careful and point out, you can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again once it's demolished.
Mhm.
And so we just need to know exactly what the plan is before the final determination on the pool is made. I'm certainly not afraid to tackle the issue. It's been out there for years.
Mhm.
But I think we need to, before any final determination is made, we need to know what the plan is going forward. So I would just suggest that as I look at the rest of this. And by the way, thank you for now recording the Parks Board meetings. It's convenient for me when I can't be here so many times, but I can go on and at least watch the meetings and see what was actually discussed and what was said. So I appreciate that. I did notice Dykeman Park, you mentioned that you grind stumps there. Do you have a stump grinder?
Mm-hmm.
The Parks Department does? Good, didn't know that.
We do that for every tree we remove in the parks. Eventually, it takes us a while sometimes.
Yeah.
It could be a winter thing, then if we can't get to it in the summertime.
Sure.
So.
Okay, and I did notice also that the men's softball group finally settled up their account, maybe, 3 years old? Yeah, so they're all caught up, and
Yep, they're all caught up.
we don't have to worry about playing night baseball now anymore, or softball.
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Okay, I would make the motion that we approve the Parks Administrator's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you, Jan. And now, code enforcement.
Good morning. You have in front of you my report for the week. There are 4 notices to appear. Of those 4, the only 2 that I'm going to request action on will be 614 Monroe Street and 518 Wheatland. I gave Chris pictures of both of them this morning. Have you had an opportunity to review them yet?
I have one photograph for 614 Monroe Street. Do you have any more? Okay, thank you.
614 Monroe Street was notified to mow and clean up at the same time. It is vacated property. It was mowed. I don't believe the owner mowed it. I believe it was probably one of the neighbors who filed the initial complaint. I don't know that to be a fact. But I have had 2 different neighbors complain about that property. My
You know if it's
request,
in foreclosure or anything?
I don't know. I'm only assuming it is. The neighbor said it's been empty for a couple of years. My recommendation would be to order a cleanup on that property.
And that's not going to include the mow, is it?
No. Like I said, the mowing's already been taken care of. I'm assuming it was a neighbor that mowed it.
I'd say, yeah, well, clean it up.
You make the
I'd
motion?
make a motion to clean it up.
Second.
614 went up.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to order a property cleanup at 614 Monroe Street. Is that an immediate cleanup?
As soon as you can get to it.
Okay.
That's about as immediate as we
Okay,
can.
it's been moved and properly seconded to order a property cleanup at 614 Monroe Street. Is there any discussion? Is there anybody here representing 614 Monroe Street? Was the notice properly served to appear at today's meeting?
Yes. Notice was served. The address listed for the property owner is 614 Monroe Street. I got the letter back from the United States Postal Service, no authorized recipient available,
Okay.
but it did go out.
Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. Next is 518 Wheatland Avenue. We have a number of photographs that you've provided here, and I see absolutely no reason to even discuss this one. The conditions of this property are totally unacceptable, and how it got in this bad a shape, I'll never know and never understand. I make a motion that we approve the property cleanup. I make the motion that we order the property cleanup at 518 Wheatland Avenue to take place as soon as possible.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, I'm sorry.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Okay. I'd make the motion then that we approve the rest of the code enforcement officer's report as presented. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board member comments?
Yes, I would just like to commend the street department. We've had the worst winter of 2013-14 that the city's experienced in a long time. The city used the most resources, salt and sand, and maybe historic levels in taking care of the streets for the winter, which was a monumental task. And now the cleaning of the streets has been ongoing, and it's just a long process because there's a lot of aggregate material on the streets that has to be cleaned up. So I commend the street department for their job they're doing of cleaning the streets, being proactive. There's a lot of miles of street to sweep, and it just taking longer than usual. But I think the street department needs to be commended for their efforts in that regard.
Duly noted. And Dan, did you say that you're down to one street sweeper?
Yes, sir.
We used to have two
The other one has been used
for
for 7 years.
7 years.
I went up to mechanically impossible.
Yeah. I understand you're up against a lot of challenges and appreciate your efforts. And I know you still have your guys working 12-hour shifts on the street sweeper?
Yes.
Yeah. I know you're attempting, and I'm
And they are working Saturdays too.
good. Okay. Are there any more board member comments? Hearing none. Miscellaneous business, including ADA Section 504 compliance and concerns, or any other matters not already considered. Hearing none. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.